Hi, this is Kelly. I'm here to show you how to pick up your stitches from your scrap yarn when you're ready to do your Afterthought thumb. And what we're looking here is, this is actually a picture that I've drawn of a stitch that we're going to be looking at, and we're going to be picking up the right hand leg of the stitch. So let me go ahead and show that to you. And I also like to use a smaller needle when I'm picking up my stitches, and it just seems to be easier for me to get into the stitches. So if we look very closely here, we have our stitches. See, that's one stitch. And then right here's another stitch, and here is another stitch, and this orange yarn is our scrap yarn. So we're going to go ahead and go right below that orange stitch right there and pick up the right hand leg of right below it, and then we're going to pick up the right hand leg of the stitch next to it, and we go all along. We're supposed to be picking up 7 stitches for this pattern. Now that is 7 stitches that we've picked up, and you have a couple of choices. You can either choose to flip your work around and pick up the rest of your stitches, like pick up the 7 stitches from here, finding the top part of the stitch again, or you can just keep your work here, which seems a little bit easier for this instance right here, is keep your work this way and don't flip it. And go ahead and check your stitches. Here's your orange scrap yarn again, and here's your first stitch. And go ahead and pick up that right hand leg of the stitches, and we're looking for 7 stitches again, right above that scrap yarn. And there we go. Now we have 7 stitches, and you can knit right from there. And what I usually do is leave my scrap yarn in place, and I would go ahead and knit a few rounds, and I would knit right off these smaller needles onto our number 5 needles. I'll show you how I do this. Now this is just one way that I pick up my stitches. There's many different ways you can do it, but I think for this instance, this looks the best. I've tried a couple different ways, and this seemed to look the nicest, so I wanted to show it to you. So I'll go ahead and take that needle out, and I'll go ahead and knit my first round here. So I'm getting that thumb in place. And like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and leave the scrap yarn in place for a couple rounds, and then I can go back and take the scrap yarn out. And I'm getting my yarn caught here a little bit, but there you go. So I have that first part, and then I'll scooch that needle over, whee, right over here, and put that other needle into position here, and get my scrap yarn out of the way. And go ahead and pick up my working needle and the yarn again, and go ahead and knit around this whole round. And by leaving the scrap yarn in position, it helps stabilize your stitches and make sure that your stitches are knit in the proper order, and keeps them in much better position for knitting. And so that's how you would go ahead and begin your work. And then you could knit the whole thumb and come back and take the yarn out, or you can do it right now, or you can do it whenever you want. But holding that scrap yarn in place for at least the first round helps ensure that your stitches that you've knit are knit perfectly. So I hope this helps.